Well, hello everyone, and thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Davidson. At the risk of sounding boastful, I dare say the talk I will be starting today, the talk I will be concluding today, is going to be extremely valuable to you. Because unlike most talks on natural medicine, all the information presented will be based on scientific evidence. I'm actually going to be summarizing hundreds of research articles for you. And if you were to try to read these on your own, it would take you probably months if you're quick, and may cost thousands of dollars, since each full-text article costs roughly $50, for instance, from PubMed. But I'm going to be summarizing and simplifying all this information for you in under 2 1.5-hour sessions. Today is the conclusion, so today is the part 2. And by applying the preventive medicine principles in this talk, you can not only save hundreds of thousands of dollars in healthcare costs down the road, but also vastly improve the state of your general health, the side effects of which may include looking and feeling better than you ever thought possible. So with that in mind, the talk is going to be interactive, and so please don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if you don't know the answer, you can guess. And I also encourage you to take notes for better retention of this valuable information that I aim to pass on to you. Actually, speaking of healthcare costs, having worked in the hospital for 5 years, I can tell you that you don't realize until you get there how little control you have over your own healthcare at that point, and how expensive it is as well. So they can charge, for one tablet of aspirin, for instance, like $30, right? So just imagine your total hospital bill. So you really don't want to get to that point where you have to go to the hospital. And that's, my whole goal here is to prevent that from happening, and to just enhance your immune system as much as possible, as well as your overall health with these simple lifestyle techniques. So today is part 2, and disclaimer I'll skip over. The objectives for today will be for you to gain an understanding of how your lifestyle decisions affect your immune system function, to become familiar with simple, low to no cost lifestyle related tools and practices, such as exercise, sleep hygiene, and other techniques that can be used as preventive care to enhance and balance your immune system, to gain an appreciation of supplement complexity, quality issues, and the need for guidance by a qualified healthcare professional in this field as well. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday, the importance of a healthy immune system. Why do we need a healthy immune system? You guys know the answer? Yeah, prevent like infectious disease. Any other reasons? Okay, so it's an essential part of your overall health. Right? It supports many other organ systems and works in conjunction with them. It keeps out or fights off pathogens, so that's preventing sickness. And then it prevents and destroys cancer cells. It also assists in the body's tissue repair and renewal processes, and it allows tolerance of the outside world and differentiates the self from non-self. So in other words, it differentiates foreign tissues from your own tissue, body's tissues. So these are really some pretty good reasons. So today we're going to be focusing on supplements. And what you have to realize is that in the US there's a major lack of regulation that undermines the reliability of the supplements manufactured here and sold here. There was a law passed in 1994. Basically, this law lumps every kind of different product into this broad category of supplements, and including herbs, vitamins, all kinds of different things, live bacteria, bee products. And basically under this law, the quality standards are quite loose. They're not so rigorous. So the FDA doesn't really have the resources or the motivation to try to regulate the supplement market. So supplements can be basically brought to the market without rigorous evaluation for safety and efficacy because of this. And so what do you think the quality, for instance, of herbal supplement depends on?
Well, it should be regulated.
What's that?
It should be regulated to, to sell the best quality.
Yeah, but what are the specific things that determine its quality? For instance, it's a plant, right? So, okay, yeah, pesticide use, right? Yeah, so that's a contributing factor. But that's actually, if you think about it, to produce a plant and then package it into a supplement, there's so many levels and levels of complexity and levels that have to be regulated. So the geographic location will play a role, the soil will play a role, right? Because the nutrients in the plant will come from the soil. The sunlight, right? Obviously the plants need sunlight. Rainfall, altitude, how the herb is harvested, the drying process, storage, all these things can actually influence quality. And if there is a problem at any one of these steps, right, the whole product can be compromised. So that's why it's important. So it's therefore it's necessary for manufacturers to test their products at every stage of this production process, but that's hardly ever done. And so we get a lot of these so-called side effects that are not really side effects from the plant, but are side effects from some contamination in one of these steps in the manufacturing process. And so, because of this lack of regulation, the final product may not even have the plant that the label says it does. So there may be no active ingredients at all. So actually the adverse effects, when you hear about adverse effects of supplements, a lot of them are due to, for instance, chemicals added in the manufacturing process, like solvents and preservatives, the wrong species or wrong part of the plant being used, contaminants and adulterants. And also, so for instance, we have a case report of, so someone's muscles literally started to melt after taking an acai berry supplement. And upon further investigation, it was discovered that actually that bottle had no acai at all, but rather, there was all these various organic chemicals. By organic, I mean like organic chemistry, not organic in the good sense, that may have caused this type of reaction. So you have to be very careful. So there's another supplement called Airborne, specifically marketed for immune support, like a cold remedy. So there was a lawsuit filed in 2008 by the Federal Trade Commission, and the company had to pay $30 million in false advertising. Because it turns out you can't say that this will cure your cold if it's not true. Right? So, and then there's other supplements that are even worse than useless, like Zicam, which is like this zinc-containing nasal gel. It's marketed to fight out the cold, but actually there have been hundreds of case reports of the people using it actually losing their sense of smell permanently in some cases. So, and even supplements supposedly derived from food can be a waste of money at best because, again, there could be a problem with one of these stages. So you see like on the label, all organic ingredients, like a bunch of, greens and veggies, but what you actually get might be quite different. So there was a study conducted on, for instance, 27 pomegranate supplements, and only 5 of the 27 supplements tested actually contained pomegranate compounds. So do you think just drinking the juice would be any more reliable? What do you guys think? Is the juice better than the pomegranate supplement?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it turns out they did test, right? They tested 45 commercial pomegranate juice samples from 23 different manufacturers, and the label said 100% pomegranate juice on each one of the samples, but testing revealed only 6 out of the 23 actually had 100% juice. Others they might have had a little bit of pomegranate, but they had a whole bunch of, so it wasn't 100% juice, right? And some of them don't contain any amount of pomegranate. Anyway, so again, you can't really trust what the label says unless you know that the manufacturing process is solid. So, so what about ascorbic acid? Do you guys know what ascorbic acid is?
Vitamin C.
Yeah, it's actually not vitamin C, but it's marketed as vitamin C, but what it is the outer component of vitamin C. In a food where, like for instance, if we eat a piece of broccoli or an apple, we get the whole vitamin C, which has like all these other molecules and cofactors associated with ascorbic acid. But ascorbic acid actually wraps around this vitamin C and protects it from being oxidized in the body. So it's one component. And we know that it's marketed for like colds and stuff, right? So what do you guys think? Is it effective against the cold?
Should be.
So assuming the quality is okay, regular supplementation can reduce the severity and duration by about only 10% for a cold. So it can be considered for those exposed to prolonged or severe physical stress, like marathon runners. And in that case, it seems to work a little better. It cuts the risk of a cold in half. But the downside is that it can actually blunt the benefits of the exercise. So we see basically some of the beneficial changes in muscle mass and distribution of vasculature, and so some of the benefits we get from exercise can actually be impaired by taking an antioxidant like ascorbic acid, even though it does seem to have this benefit of protecting us against colds. But there's a lot of other side effects. In the general population, it doesn't seem to work, and so it doesn't seem to reduce your likelihood of catching a cold. And it doesn't seem to work if only taken after catching a cold. And so just like any other drug, you have to weigh the benefits versus the risks. There are risks, including 25% increased risk of cataracts and nearly 50% increased risk for those taking it longer than 10 years. And also, it can actually double the risk of kidney stones if you take about 1 gram per day. But so why would we tolerate any health risks at all when we can get all the vitamin C we need from plants, and that's the way God intended it, right? Any questions about that? Good. Okay, so we're going to go on to prebiotics and probiotics. Who knows what those are? Okay. Sarah?
Probiotics help your gut.
Yeah, but what are they?
Microorganisms.
Yeah, they're microorganisms. So they're beneficial microorganisms that are part of our physiology, and they have a lot of functions in our body. They support and really contribute to our immune system, and they also provide the body with nutrients and promote elimination of wastes from the body. So they actually are really key to our normal healthy physiology. So nonetheless, if you can verify the quality of a supplement is high, there are supplements worth taking, right? And probiotics may be one of them. For instance, probiotics are beneficial. So these beneficial microorganisms, and they're commonly sold as supplements. And so they include strains like lactobacilli and bifidobacteria. So you might have heard about these before if you buy probiotic supplements. So they can also have immune-enhancing effects, right? It was already demonstrated in a number of studies that they can actually help with immune function. In one of the studies, participants were given probiotics for a few weeks, and so they had boosted immune cell activity, even a few weeks after the probiotics were stopped. But then it returned to baseline. So WBCs are the white blood cells, right? We talked about that yesterday as well. Adam, what's a white blood cell?
Well, the leukocytes and stuff like that.
Yeah, what does it do? Remember?
Oh,
Remember Pac-Man?
Eats pathogens.
Yeah, good.
Pathogens.
Yeah. And so what about NK cells? What are those?
Which ones?
NK cells?
Those are the super, the vanguard.
Oh, good. Natural killer cells.
Yeah, the attackers.
Yeah. So they like kill off tumor cells and virus-infected cells. And there's other studies showed that those taking probiotics may have significantly fewer colds, sick days, lower risk of a respiratory infection. So, and they may be especially helpful following a course of antibiotics. as a way to reduce any side effects and also basically provide some support for your immune system and your gut health, which will again impact every other area of health. So this is a graph showing how they can actually increase your white cells activity, so their ability to fight off and gobble up invaders. And you can see after just 3 weeks, their ability to gobble up invaders goes up. So they become like the Pac-Man that eat the little square that allows them to gobble up the owls. So, and they fall back to baseline after about 3 weeks. So it doesn't last forever, but it's something. And same thing with these NK cells, you get a boost in activity. This is another illustration of kind of the same thing where you have, this is a different strain of probiotic, but you see the same kind of effect with different immune cells. These are all like gobbling up cells being enhanced, right, with the probiotic strain. So now prebiotics, okay. Who knows what a prebiotic is? No? So we talked about probiotics. So prebiotics, it's kind of like it sounds, right? They're food for the probiotic bacteria. So the probiotics, they're living organisms, right? And they need food to survive and replicate and grow and colonize the gut. And so prebiotics are those nutrients that they actually consume as a food source. And primarily what that is fiber, right? And indigestible starch and pectins, and these are components that are found primarily in plants, okay? So in other words, our good bacteria require these plant components to be viable and to reproduce and maintain our gut health, right? So yeah, there are food components that feed the probiotic bacteria. And the evidence suggests that the prebiotics can actually be even more important than the probiotics. So raw fruits and vegetables have both pre and probiotics, which contributes to their immune enhancing effects, because they already have the fiber, and then they're also covered with the probiotic bacteria. So as a scientist explains, the protective effect of these plant-based foods can be in part be explained by their beneficial effects on our gut, right, and the bacteria that live within it, which is a key part of our overall health. The intestinal microflora is another word for the environment of bacteria in our gut, which, by the way, the number of bacterial cells in our gut outnumber the cells in our body. So the way we treat our gut and how healthy it is just as important, right, as anything we do for our own cells. So fermented dairy products are pretty popular as probiotics, but unfortunately not only may they have harmful compounds, but they're probably not effective sources of probiotics. This is because basically the concentration of these beneficial probiotic bacteria in most dairy products is just not sufficient to have a significant therapeutic effect. And we know that food is more than just one compound, more than just carbohydrates. And dairy products have thousands of different compounds. A lot of these are actually harmful, so probably not a good source. And so supplement sources may be far safer compared to dairy products, but quality is still always a concern, just like with any supplement. So there was a study that found only about 30% of probiotic supplements actually contain what they claimed on the label. So what do you guys think is the value then? Should we buy probiotic supplements? Is it worthwhile? So there's several factors to consider. So quality, right? So if you know the manufacturing process is solid and it takes some research, or you have a trusted source, who did the research for you, then this would be okay. And then gut viability is really important, because probiotics they're not viable in your gut. They're more like vagrants. They pass by and pass through you. They typically last about 3 to 5 days.